great team. And I think if being paid to do something that you love and being a professional sportsman, who cares what the position is? If you're on the field and you're being given an opportunity, then I think that's great. I say that I develop soccer players. I don't develop forwards. In my practices, the forwards defend. The defenders go forward and score. We juggle together, we pass together, we receive the ball together, we work on team concepts together. I don't pigeonhole them and go, hey, at under 9, you're a sweeper. My sweeper in my under 9s is probably the best juggler on the team because we work on juggling. He's probably technically better than any kid on the team. So,
what's the best thing about being a DOC?
The best thing about being a DOC is watching, well, certainly from our perspective as a club that's relatively new, 10 years in existence, watching the club develop, watching the teams within the club develop, watching the reputation of our club be enhanced by the performances of some of the teams and by the job that we do, and I say we as in our coaching staff. And I get as much pleasure as I did last Saturday watching our under-7 developmental team play Albion at our field and watching those little kids try to do the things that their coach has been working on with them, and seeing them try to settle and pass a soccer ball. Some of these kids are 5, trying to settle and pass and trying their utmost to please and do the things that the coach has asked them to do. That gives me as much satisfaction as one of our teams going on and winning State Cup. I tell our coaches, and I believe this for myself, if I've coached a team for 3 years, every single kid on that team could go and play in any team they wanted to play in. If I've had 3 years to rotate that team and get it to the 3rd year, recruiting,
is that the magic amount of time a coach should have with a team?
Well, I think in 1 year you can't do that because you might inherit a team and you might inherit some weaker players that are never going to get there. In the 2nd year is like, hey, you've had a chance to to adjust it a little bit and fine-tune it. And then in the 3rd year, you've had 2 years to be able to develop and work with the kids and, stamp your own style on the team. And also you've been able then to have a period to recruit and get players in that you think are capable. And after 3 years, I mean, my under-13s, I think any player in my team could go and play in nearly any other team in Southern California and not look out of place. I'm not saying they'd be the stud in the team, but,
they're well trained.
But even the weaker players that, I bumped into a guy this morning who asked me, oh, you still got that kid on your team? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, I watched him play last year. I said, you haven't seen him play now. People that come to me and they're a 4 out of 10 and I get them to a 7 or an 8, that's huge. That's success, and that's me doing my job. I say this to some coaches who will remain nameless, but soccer's not just about recruiting. If you're one of those guys, there are great recruiters in this business. And then they recruit a great team.
They have show me
that you can coach as well, though. Why not keep half the kids and say, I saw the talent in that kid or the potential, and I've made him into a player. That's the thing that I love when I see, my weakest player become a starter in the team, for example, or you see, one of your guys that was a fringe player become the main player on the team. I mean, that's what soccer is about here. It's about developing players and recruiting to make a great team. That's one aspect of it. But it's also about your weakest link. How much can you squeeze out of your weakest link? And every team has a weak link.
What do you think about the academy system in ECNL?
I think the academy system, again, is one of those concepts that has the greatest intentions, and I understand the worth of it. I understand the concept. Again, the club scene here is so different than the way it is back in England and Europe and maybe even in South America, where the clubs here tend to still hold power, and therefore if you've got...
When you say clubs, what do you mean by clubs?
I mean the competitive soccer programs.
The youth clubs.
The youth clubs,
okay.
Like our club and
okay.
Surf and Nomads and
okay.
FC San Diego and Sharks, whatever you want to say. Therefore, the academy system is not always going to be able to attract the elite cream of the crop, because they're, with all due respect to some of the academies, they don't have the best coaches. So just because you've been given a tag of, hey, we're academy, doesn't mean You know, if I was putting my son in one of the academies, it wouldn't be because it was an academy. It would be who's coaching the team. And
So it's most important to look at who's coaching.
absolutely. That's like teaching. Like you go to a school and you go, oh, that school's fantastic, but the teaching staff is useless. But you find a school where you might not have the great as a reputation, but the teachers are getting their job done and they're producing great
Students who love to
results.
learn.
Who love to learn, and I think that's the academy for me. It's like a misnomer that, oh, you've got to be at one of the academy clubs. No.
What
'Cause-
about ECNL?
well, I don't know enough about the ECNL because, as I said, the girls' program in our club is not as strong. The concept is a wonderful concept, but I just wonder how there's so much like opportunity and so many options for people to play their soccer that the ECNL to me is not like, it's not seen as the pinnacle or the only place to be. You know, in England it would be different. If you were going to be an elite soccer player, you would want to be in an academy team at a pro club. Hey, you're a great player, you've been given this chance, can you exist with that?
England, it's so much more streamlined. In America, it's so diffused and there's so many different paths. How
It's dead
can
simple. It's dead simple. If you told my son you're going to play for LA Galaxy, he'd go, oh, okay. I'm serious. Because he's
you... Careful,
English.
because I could print that.
Because he's I don't mean that with disrespect to
I know.
Galaxy. I mean any MLS club.
Right.
You in England, if let's say let's say Aston Villa comes say, hey, you love your son, we want him in our academy, and we think he's got a chance. That's huge. That would be like the New York Yankees come knocking on your door. But the MLS just does not have at the moment
That respect.
that respect and that kudos, and even, I'm going to say it, the financial enticement that it would if you had the Yankees or the Colts come knocking at your door for your son. And there's a denial here with some parents that, you know, they're only in it for the glory. I mean, they are in it for the glory. I mean, if there's a kid who's got a choice of going and being a centre mid starter for an MLS team or a quarterback for one of the top pro clubs, they're going to go with the football deal. I mean, because soccer just doesn't have enough respect here yet. And I wish and pray and long for that day.
And work.
And long for that day when it does. It's just, you know, I used to feel like when I first came here and I was earning next to nothing and we had 5 teams in the club. No, you get treated with disrespect. You're almost like treated like you're just like a low-level labourer, you know. And when I think where I've been and what I've done and what some of the other coaches have done in that coach in San Diego, where they've played, you know, what their level of experience is, what their level of expertise is, I think it's now becoming more of a profession where we're being given the respect and the kudos that we deserve for the investment that we've made, you know.
You're one.